enterprises. Probably we're all facing a cliff around March when some of the allowances dry up. I'm joined now by Bill Lang, the Executive Director of Small Business Australia. Bill, you've just heard Karen's story. Is this indicative of small business across the country in general, or is some degree of normality returning?
Look, Catherine, and thank you for having Karen share her story. It's a very brave and courageous thing that she's done to get on television and to share it. You know, she is one of probably almost 400,000 small business owners around the country. Some states much worse than others. Think about Melbourne and Victoria. 12 weeks of these aggressive lockdowns happened here where the businesses were temporarily put out of business. But we are looking at 300,000 or 400,000 that are selling off assets, dipping into superannuation, if they can, borrowing more money, and in many cases just walking away. And I think every viewer could see the fragility, still the get up and go that she's got, but the fragility in terms of overall health, in terms of what the business owners are dealing with. And this is the real story of COVID-19. It's disappointing if you can't have your New Year's Eve party like you might have planned, but if you're one of those 300 or 400,000 small business owners that aren't sure whether there's a future, you've got real issues and you need real help. And just as Karen pointed out then, it wasn't that helpful for her. It was very helpful for a number of businesses, no doubt, things like JobKeeper. But there are still major gaps in terms of what was put in place, what is planned, and the ongoing uncertainty. And in many respects, it's the pain of uncertainty is far greater than the certainty of pain. And we need to get some more certainty available for small business owners around the country.
That in particular, Bill, is what worries me. The strain on Karen was just so manifest. Like, she's brave and she's determined to see this through, but the mental health implications for some of these sole traders and small entrepreneurs must be devastating. Have you encountered that firsthand? People must be right on the edge mentally.
Look, there's any number of increased admissions from a mental health point of view in terms of what's been happening at the GP level through to the emergency departments. It's a bit unclear around the actual published numbers around self-harm and successful suicide and unsuccessful suicide attempts. But it's a very real issue. And one of the areas that we've been calling for the federal government to really get activated on is doing away with any legal ramifications of having to become insolvent or personally bankrupt, so that you don't have that hanging over your head. Because at the end of the day, these people need to be able to get going in another business if possible, and not be sort of banned from having other businesses. Because, small business owners, they are made. They're not born, Catherine.
Precisely. There is a very special group of Australians, and I totally understand that, Bill. I've seen boarded up businesses in my neighbourhood that were really as Edmund Burke, the great conservative, said, the little platoons of our society. Their kids were behind the counter. I watched them grow up. They were focal points for the community and they've vanished. It's been heartrending. Now, where are the banks in this, by the way? Because I know, as a sole trader myself in my own life, I get no capacity for credit whatsoever on an unencumbered mortgage after the Royal Commission into the banking industry. They will not lend they will not give overdraft finance to someone who owns their own home and is a sole trader. Have you had any luck on that front?
Look, I think the first thing we'd have to say with respect to the banks is they really all got together at the start of the pandemic and did the right thing in terms of giving people a holiday from having to make their repayments. But it wasn't like a forgiveness of repayments. The people that haven't been repaying still need to repay. And my understanding is that through the Australian Bankers Association, there is a lot of work going on to work out how to ensure that anyone that had a business that was sustainable before COVID hit will be able to stay in business in some way, that their banks will support them. And I think I heard Ross McEwen, the CEO of National Australia Bank in particular, make the comment around, look, there are many, many good businesses pre-COVID and there'll be good businesses post-COVID, and we have to work together and come up with a way of helping see them through. And, we at Small Business Australia, our whole sort of, New Year's wish is all around getting everyone through to 22. So we've got a long way to go. Like, we talk about the second wave. We want to know what the planning is for the third wave. It's great to hear the New South Wales Premier, in many respects, the gold standard. We'd love to see her leading in a number of other states, but they've got the app, they've got the QR code system, and it's a good idea to make it mandatory for every business to use the same one, available for free from the New South Wales government. We'd love to see the Victorian government make it mandatory as well, because we know with this contract tracing game, it's all about the time and the comprehensiveness of the data. So the better data, the more comprehensive it is, the quicker we can get on top of these things, because Gladys and the New South Wales team has shown how to go about in a calm and considered way of living with the virus. And we need the big companies, the big banks, we need federal, we need state government, and look, my hat goes off to Australians. We've really had a green, gold and local Christmas. We want to see the same thing for New Year's Eve. Keep supporting and buying local from the local businesses. So people are doing what they can do within their power, but there's still a few gaps at the federal government and the state government level in terms of what needs to happen to see everyone through to 22.
Now, Bill, just in closing then, that amnesty for insolvency, or for want of a better word, where do you go with that proposal? Is that a federal legislative matter? Do you need legislation to amend the taxation laws, or is it the Bankruptcy Act needs legislation? What is the approach, and have you had any response from the responsible federal authorities yet?
Look, an excellent question. So let me sort of define a couple of things. So bankruptcy is what happens to individuals that might have a legal structure like a sole trader or a partnership or maybe a trust involved in terms of owning the business. And 38% of businesses are actually owned in a proprietary company setup. And in their cases, they're called insolvent. And the federal government made some good changes, but they're only applicable to maximum, 38% of the small businesses. So what we need to see happen in a very simple way, and we need the Treasurer, Josh Frydenberg, it's in his whole area, and the Attorney General, to ensure that these people don't become Frydenberg's forgotten people, the people that aren't in the company structure. We need to make sure that, look, if you can't pay everything back, there's been a short period to work things out with the creditors. It can't be all sorted out. We need everyone to take a haircut. That's what we call it in the financial services. Everyone that's owed some money takes a bit of a haircut, as opposed to the small business owner being decapitated. So it's squarely a federal government thing. Josh, if you're out there watching this or you get to hear this, please ensure that these small business people do not become known as Frydenberg's forgotten people.
I think that is a fantastic slogan, Bill, and it's a good note to close on, and I'm sure you can be assured that a lot of the people here at Sky will take that up with the relevant ministers. And in Alan Jones and Paul Murray, you've got powerful advocates for your sector. So thank you for your time. As I said to Karen, Happy New Year seems like an absurd overstatement, but let's hope 2021 delivers for the small business sector, and that you're able to stay solvent, or if you're not solvent, at least stay afloat to fight another day.